Hi, this is Andy Collin with Growing Up Aspen. We're here with Chris Pomeroy, and today we are talking with Ed Dent. I got to know Ed in first days of Little League all the way through high school, and Ed's now a local doctor in the valley, and just the valley over in Eagle. So let's catch up with Ed and see what he's up to. Thanks. It was pretty
Ed,
funny.
where are you now?
So I live in Eagle, Colorado.
Okay.
I've moved over the dark side of Vail Health. Our kids grew up here playing hockey, and so if you beat Aspen, that was the only definition of a successful season. But yeah, so I finished my residency in family medicine at Fort Collins and met my current wife there. She was a nurse at the hospital where I trained, and I think you guys might have got to meet Christy, Andy.
Yeah,
Christy.
yeah, I did. Yeah, she's great.
So I kind of looked at jobs. I looked at some jobs in Basalt and Carbondale. I really wanted to come back to the mountains, and this opportunity came up, and that was in 1999. And so we moved up here to Eagle, and yeah, it's been, I guess, 26 years now here, and now our kids are grown up, and it's been great.
You know what's funny? When we went to the '84 reunion and met you there. Dave and I showed up.
Yeah.
And so Dave and I took on our way back out of town. We stopped at Glenwood and we went into the hot springs, and we're in those tubs. It's the new one with a bunch of little tubs and stuff. So we're in one of the tubs and we're talking, and there's like a couple there. And their conversation gets going, and we're like, oh yeah, we went to the reunion in Aspen, and hanging out with our friends, and one of our friends lives in Eagle, and they're like, oh, we live in Eagle, and we're like, well, he's a doctor, and Dr. Dent? Yeah, Dr. Dent. they're like your patients or something, So it's so funny being Glenwood, and we're talking about you, they don't even know. They just know you as a patient. Sit on the table.
That's funny. Isn't I want to say Thos works over there somewhere too.
He's an anesthesiologist that he did that basic anesthesiology for a while, and then he kind of changed over to sort of like pain management medicine actions and procedures, and he works for I say Stedman Hawkins Clinic, although Dr. Hawkins and Dr. Stedman are long gone, but he works for that group. Yeah, people like to say like, well, I got an appointment with Dr. Evans. I was like, you mean DOS?
I think my brother and his wife went to see him at one point, and he told me that he was over there too. And that's also in Eagle, right?
Yeah, so just to kind of orient you a little bit, like Eagle and Gypsum are on the west side of the valley. I'm thinking Thos might live up valley, although I'm not sure. He does most of his work kind of up around Edwards and Vail.
Okay.
So I think Thos has a kid now, still plays hockey. I kind of retired from hockey, but
pass the puck on to your progeny there.
What was your inspiration? I mean, we had so many amazing little local doctors. Like my first doctor was Barry Mink, who was, Dr. Marathon.
Yeah.
And after that, I got Harold Whitcomb, who was Dr. Vitamin C.
Yeah.
And then after that, I had Ann Mass, who was, Miss Moguls, And what was your inspiration?
Right. So like Dr. Whitcomb, I remember definitely had an impact on me, even though it's stuff that's, thankfully wasn't too major, but I had these warts on my hand that I couldn't get rid of. My grandfather was a doctor, and he sent me to his dermatologist buddy to cut off these warts. They just grew back, and I guess it's a little gross for where are they now, but anyway, but Dr. Whitcomb like busted out this like Beetlejuice stuff. And after all I'd been through with this finally worked and had the warts go away. But I can remember also, maybe I was talking to Oliver or something, and he's like, dude, don't let him hook you up to that machine.
What do they call that thing? I remember it was
like
little electrodes,
allergic. course, you were always allergic to stuff that was bad for you, like sugar and.
Right. Yeah. Well,
biofeedback. That's what it was.
It's funny because in medicine, which is what you're in, there was sort of in those days you were either, I mean, the health and the nutrition and all that stuff was sort of more preventative, and so it was a different kind of way of thinking of medicine than the practical, here you go sense. And so we kind of grew up in that sort of thing, and WIT kind of represented that kind of offshoot, that kind of came in at medicine in sort of a unique way.
Yeah. And it's cool though, because like I'm sure that he and myself as well just practice traditional medicine and put people on their blood pressure meds and all that stuff. But if you find a patient that seems receptive and you can kind of coach them through some lifestyle changes, it can be pretty gratifying if they, maybe gain some pearl of wisdom or whatever, or something that helped them, get healthy without pills or whatever.
I feel like also you start to get people a little bit more control of themselves instead of the world controlling them. And that it helps in a much bigger way. And that's the kind of stuff that I felt like WIT was more about getting people centered and by doing something completely different and weird, it was like, whoa, okay, and I feel like in medicine, it's an Eastern way of thinking in a way, but it totally is part of the whole piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did do some of that stuff. He and his sister both were absolutely brilliant. His sister was Marty Sterling. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they came over from Denver, I think, in the late 50s, early 60s or something.
Okay.
And
I'm so familiar with Marty Sterling, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. You don't know who she is?
That sounds familiar. I guess Sterling, that name sounds familiar because of Bill Sterling, but.
Oh yeah, different family. They owned the Heatherbed Lodge up by Highlands, and then he started a business in town, and they have a fascinating, unique story. She won a bunch of money on a TV game show, and then they moved to Aspen, and then Whit came over, I guess, to visit him or something, and ended up staying. So
you could be the next contestant on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get your home in Aspen.
$64,000 question.
Yeah, now you couldn't do that. No way.
Exactly. You might be able to afford like a down payment on a condo now if you want.
Yeah.
You could get a moped.
You're going to have to get one of those 50-year payment things.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thanks for listening. The authors of Growing Up Aspen would like to thank you and would like to also thank the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News for giving us materials for our book, Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, which you can get at twistandturnpress.com and any local bookstore. Thanks.